Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on Beyond Real Estate. I am Jalen McKenna, and my co host, as always, is Nick Gumper. And again, we have Christina Moran, hashtag the mortgage mom of three, joining us today as our special guest. So, today's topic for our real estate roundup is down payment assist. Yeah. So, in this segment, we will help potential home buyers to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly of these down payment assistance programs and so they can know the unfiltered truth about all of these. So, Christina, why don't you start us off with all of the wonderful things that down payment assistance programs can be used for and why people are interested in using them in the first place?
Okay. Well, let's start with how they reduce the amount you have to save in regards to closing costs when purchasing a home. Okay. So that's a plus. Not everyone has 20% in assets available to put down on a home, right? I know I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, casual.
Especially yeah, especially if you live in California.
Oof.
Shots fired, shots fired. Uh so there's many different programs, but one of the most popular ones in here in Colorado is the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, also known as CHAFA. And I say this at Cherry Creek Mortgage, and I can't speak for where you work, but we're not endorsed nor acting on behalf of the direction of the state of Colorado or CHAFA. We just happen to do a lot of down payment assistance programs because we find there's a lot of benefit to consumers. And that happens to be, the closing cost assistance that they offer. So they offer up to 4% assistance in down payment or closing costs within the state of Colorado. So every state has their own specific down payment assistance program. So what I'm referring to is specifically Colorado state specific.
Yep.
Um, it's offered at 0%. So the majority of this program is 0%. You don't have they kind of call it a silent second, so to speak. There's no payment on it. You don't owe interest. It is due when you refinance or sell the home. So you don't really see the money, but when you sell or refinance the home, that's when you have to pay that money back. Okay.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
I'm with you.
Okay. Um, they also help to incentivize financial stability and wealth building opportunity in regards to home ownership. So again, not everyone has the 20%, but this is why there's programs like CHAFA. There's also Denver Metro Assistance. So that's called DPA, Denver Metro. You have Habitat for Humanity. There's also another one. It's not necessarily a down payment. It's a type of payment assistance program, but they have their own lenders inside. It's called NACA. I don't know if you've heard of NACA. Um, it's another program. It's just naming a few. There's actually 90 programs within the state of Colorado. Just
Yeah,
90.
you don't know those all off the top of your head? I don't.
No, no, because they're county, state, and city specific. So, um, but and I'm gonna argue a point I'm sure you're gonna have here on your cons here, Jalen. Some of the programs have a little higher interest rate, but the majority of them do have somewhat of a lower interest rate. So they stay pretty competitive underneath whatever the interest rate is now. So when interest rates do go up, the interest rates will go up as well. So if they go up 0.5% for your conventional mortgages, they are going to go up a little bit with your down payment assistance programs as well,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
absolutely. And I want to kind of make it clear for everyone, no matter where you're listening, dang near, and I haven't seen a state yet that doesn't have some sort of local offering, as well as things like Chinoa, which I know we're using a lot of these what are they called? What are
Acronyms?
they called?
Slang,
Slang, anagrams, acronyms. Ha, there we go.
acronyms, ramps.
Anagrams, no anagrams. Um, their names are so obscure and ridiculous. It doesn't really matter what they stand for. Just know that they are available. And if that's a route that you want to have questions for, get yourself a mortgage advisor. Christina and myself consider ourselves mortgage advisors. We are going to help you make the best decision for you and your family, even if it means that we can't do it ourselves, versus just putting you into a product because you heard about it or you were marketed to for it. It's like, Like if you saw someone do an advertisement for Nike stock, does that mean you're going to call up your financial advisor and be like, all Nike stock? It's like, no, you want your financial advisor to tell you if that actually makes sense for you and your plans. So
Well, and here's the thing about loans. I mean, a lot of times we get hung up on the rate, and yeah, the rate is important, but it's sometimes more than that. Sometimes paying a little higher of a rate when you're getting so many incentives on the back end can sometimes pay off. So, really, talking to a lender who knows all the ins and out of different programs that may benefit you is really important because a good lender is going to sit back. They're going to look at your financial and housing needs, and they're going to really dissect what's going to work for you based on what you're looking for. And that's why it's important to know there's so many programs out there.
yeah, and what the benefits of each program is too. Now that we've talked about all of the good ways of how more these down payment assistance programs can just be a great way to buy a home, there are definitely some potential drawbacks to consider. So let's explain first why there is no quote unquote free money in these programs. That seems to be I hear that quite frequently. Do you, Christina, about like free money or FHA or something along those lines when talking about down payment assistance?
Yeah, and I always say nothing's free.
Paying for it somehow. But yes, so these programs, there are grant programs out there that are offered by some cities or counties, and Christina did mention a few of them. And those grant programs generally also do come at a cost, no free money. And Christina did already kind of cut me off on one of those that they do have a higher interest rate, and so you are paying more every month than you would otherwise. But besides that, uh, goodness, I'm having troubles with my notes. I'm editing this all out. It's all good. So many programs are set up in the way of higher interest rates, and that can vary from program to program and from what they want to offer. Can offer those slightly higher interest rates to if you're are getting more money or you are doing grant versus a silent second, like Marissa had mentioned, where there's that second mortgage that's always there that you'll have to pay back eventually, but it gets you into a home, which is important. Um, they do come at that slightly higher interest rate for the better the benefit. Um, and Christina, you really knocked out so many of my notes. You steel manned my argument as well, which is never fun. Uh,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
it's all good. I think it's hilarious that she was like, "I know what Jalen's gonna talk about." I'm like, "That's fair. That's fair. I don't blame you one bit." So the bigger thing that I want to also talk about is when it comes to these down payment assistance programs, they're most of the time they're not actually addressing the real issue if you need to have down payment assistance. Now, they can and have been in times past been a great way for someone that just needs to have that down payment money versus today when there's the amount that a house is worth has increased so much. They've appreciated, that was the word I was looking for, appreciated so much that you can almost never catch up. But the other thing people need to be aware of is here in Colorado, only it's less than 1% of the homes here in Colorado foreclose. So yeah, it's in this crazy market, there are still foreclosures. Of those less than 1% of homes in the state that foreclose, 40% of those had something to do with down payment assistance. And I will link those numbers down below. I'm not just going to be talking out my bottom here. But that's another thing to just be aware of. Make sure that you're not getting into a home if you can't afford a home. It's a lot different to say, yes, you qualify and you can get in a home versus should you or should we address some of the bigger things like having a budget, saving efficiently, being able to actually make any home repairs if need be, versus just, I got in a home. Now look at me. I'm in a home. This is probably one of the few times that you'll ever hear a mortgage lender or real estate agent say, "Yeah, take a step back from just jumping into a home as quickly as possible." Um, Nick, on that note, when you're talking with clients, how do you kind of approach that discussion and making sure that a home the is going to be a benefit and not a headache and not a blessing at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, couple things come to mind. And first off, for our listeners out there, if you haven't noticed, I've been pretty quiet thus far, and that's purposefully done. In the fact that I need to stay in my lane. I think that's a misconception numerous home buyers, especially first time home buyers, have, is they assume a real estate agent is the end all be all. And a lot of them don't understand the role that a lender plays in being the expert when it comes to the money piece. Give an example. I had a home buyer consultation a while back, and finally got to the money part of it, but it's more of me asking what is their price range versus saying, hey, there's this first time home buyer option out there, and there's this out there and that out there. Because I think that can be a slippery slope for us real estate agents to think that we need to be the expert for all things. um, so to that's my long-winded answer to say, first off, I definitely steer clear of the majority of the money talk and leave it for the lender, and for them to understand that relationship needs to be with the lender predominantly. I need to make sure I'm mindful of what is their price range that they're comfortable with. Do I need to understand what is their monthly payment based on, again, what they're comfortable with, and based on the players there. But ultimately, I inform them that you need to reserve a lot of your money questions for your lender, because they're going to be able to best serve you and what your needs, and just those questions that come along with the money end of things. Um, so that's where my head goes. Does that answer your question though?
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. And Christina, kind of give us anything that you think that I want to hear your final thoughts on this one. I will give you the final word of authority. Just so everyone knows, um, Nick and I haven't talked about down payment assistance too much, and that's because even though I know the programs, I personally don't use them. It's just not what my company and I use, and we're upfront about that. Of hey, this is why we don't, or hey, can we do it a different way without doing it because of those detractors. But at the same time, it's not that I don't believe that down payment assistance can't help people that it was intended for. And so Christina is on this episode with us because she is actually the person that I do refer my clients to, who down payment assistance does make sense for them. So that is why Christina is here as the down payment assistance authority for us this episode.
Thank you. I've always we've worked really well together, and I've always valued working with you. But I think the important thing to remember with down payment assistance is it's not a one size fits all type of program. It's not a quick fix for credit that needs to be cleaned up, income that needs to be made. So it's important to talk to a lender. It is for first time home buyers, and I say that loosely because you are considered a first time home buyer every 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so make sure you talk to your lender a little bit about that. It is not for investment properties, second homes. It is primary residence, so you have to intend to occupy the property. No, you can't occupy it and then turn it into a rental. It doesn't work like that. It is to help you buy your first home. There are income limits, property amount limits, so you can't go purchase a jumbo loan. A jumbo loan is considered anything over conforming limits. So if you're in the Denver metro area, if you're looking at a $700,000 home, down payment assistance is not going to be for you. That is where we're going to look at different programs. So it is truly out there to assist those that are trying to get their foot in their door into the real estate market so that they can get their first home and start building equity to get into the next level of housing. It is great program, so definitely why you want to talk to a lender who is an expert, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I don't I consider myself an authority, and I just mean that there's so much information, and I'm always going to the programs to look to them to make sure it's for the person I'm working with.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And Nick, why don't you just roll us on out of this segment of Beyond Real Estate?
Ooh.
Yeah, guys, again, reach out to those professionals because they come at zero cost. Um, And I think Jay and Christina both hit this one out of the park when it comes to those assistance programs and what's available. So with that being said, let's take a short break and we'll come back and conclude with Business Bookend.